In 1948, the UN General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the UDHR, which outlines, quote, the basic rights and freedoms to which all humans are entitled. While none of the then 58 UN members voted against the resolution, 8 countries abstained: Czechoslovakia, Poland, Yugoslavia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, and the Soviet Union and its then Soviet Socialist republics, Belarus and Ukraine. The Soviet bloc stated that Western liberalism overly influenced the document and didn't adequately condemn fascism. The Saudis openly opposed equal rights for men and women as well as religious freedom. And South Africa unironically argued that the UDHR conflicted with apartheid. Duh. Now, I would like to say that 80 years on, the entire world has adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and instead of investing trillions of dollars and wasting millions of lives maintaining the despicable, destructive infrastructure of war, that we've invented food replicators and quantum teleporters, that we've conquered disease at the molecular level, eliminating poverty, and, because of molecular replicators, eradicating capitalist commerce. I'd like to welcome you to the post-capitalist, post-scarcity future. Instead, over the past 8 decades, the Soviets, the Saudis, the South Africans, and other abstaining governments have only intensified their hostility toward anyone different from them. Even more troubling, many formerly progressive nations are backsliding into the Dark Ages. I suspect that if a vote on the UDHR were held in the UN tomorrow, that the outcome would be the reverse of 1948. 8 nations would vote in favor, and 48 would not abstain but outright oppose a Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Our agreement about what constitutes universal human values ebbs and flows, underscoring the frustrating subjectivity of a value system, even those that we assume everyone should naturally embrace, such as the belief that it's the responsibility of those with more to support those with less, a foundational concept in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Subjectivity is the way your personal feelings, opinions, and experiences affect how you see the world. Objectivity attempts to view things as they are, independent of personal bias. Objectively, we can say plants use photosynthesis. Subjectively, we call plants pretty, or ugly, or green. Some, myself included, argue that it's impossible to describe or sense anything devoid of our personal biases. So, the best we can do is become increasingly aware of them to comprehend the world better, free of at least some of our subconscious preconceptions. Peering through the looking glass of objectivity, we seek universal truths that exist independently of perception. There we discover forces like photosynthesis, gravity, and magnetism. Beyond the realm of science, within the work of the people and the body politic, the concept of truth is primarily a matter of perception. Everyone living in the United States in 2025 is acutely aware of this human tendency. Many of us want to believe that humans share a set of core values emphasizing the dignity of all people. And despite the 24-hour Apocalypse Now news cycle, I am convinced that more of us than not strive to treat each other with respect and love. But we must painfully admit that not everyone agrees all humans have basic equal rights. Saudi Arabia has not changed its position on gender equality and freedom of religion. South Africa only officially ended apartheid in 1994, and conditions honestly are only marginally better there today. It's astounding and it's heartbreaking, but it's true. Pretending it's false doesn't serve anyone's needs and just leads us to public crises. When we try to understand why people and countries resist a Universal Declaration of Human Rights, discussions often turn to religious extremism. But it's religious mainstreamism that's more dangerous to culture because it's sneaky and it's pervasive. Religion, when practiced as intended, leads people to universal love. Disciples, students, who deeply understand Jesus, Moses and Muhammad, Buddha and Krishna, Lao Tzu, Confucius, and other enlightened masters know that true freedom and enlightenment, unity with God, is found in service to others. We've been discussing who the other is for thousands of years. While the Bible illustrates an evolution of inclusiveness until the other eventually includes our enemies, religion initially defined early communities' societies and was never really intended to be particularly inclusive. Even today, our religions and sacred texts foster a sense of belonging, but primarily within our own groups. We're Christian, and within Christianity there are like 44,000 denominations. We're also Muslim, Jewish, Indigenous, Sikh, Taoist, Unitarian, non-Trinitarian, spiritual but not religious, AA, NA, and ASPCA. We mortals find it relatively easy to share community values, but beyond those subjective, fluid guideposts, we're a planet of people with extremely conflicting ideals, often fighting for dominance instead of peacefully coexisting, or better yet, cooperating. How arduous is it to embrace people outside of our community? Well, the court jester in Elon Musk and Donald Trump's White House of Terror, and I do mean white, J.D. Vance recently spoke at CPAC, a MAGA political convention. Joker J.D. was asked about the strength of our European alliances. He said, and I quote, "I really do think the strength of those alliances is going to depend on whether we take our societies in the right direction. That friendship is based on shared values," end quote. Shared values. Do you mean the shared values like the ones outlined in the UN UDHR in 1948? The shared values that today would likely receive not 48 votes for and 8 abstentions, but 8 votes for with 48 abstentions? The shared values we all so wantonly ignore? It's very funny, Jester JD. So funny I could cry. Our obsession with transactions strangles our ability to share values that lift everyone up. The first step toward overcoming our continuous conflict is to stop accepting that everything must be quid pro quo. That is not how God works. It's not how the universe works, and it is not at all how human relationships should work, interpersonal or international. Objectively, there are very few, if any, universally shared values. Small groups of humans work together because of certain commonalities, proximity, or interests, but as groups increase in membership, it becomes increasingly impossible for them to find consensus on much of anything. I mean, consider Parliament or Congress. Even China's National People's Congress has debates, despite mainly serving as a rubber stamp for the ruling party. Listen, the world is basically 8 billion people, and each one of us is a pressure cooker encased in a hot pot wrapped in a microwave set to ludicrous. It could all blow at any time, but that is not necessarily a disaster because pressure is transformative. It takes intense pressure in the Earth's mantle to transform common carbon into a diamond. But you don't see anyone proposing with a lump of coal or wearing a carbon atom necklace on the red carpet because we collectively recognize the value of rare minerals and gems. If we'd finally start applying that same concern to humans, we might make some progress toward realizing the dream of universal equity, respect, and prosperity outlined in the UDHR 80 years ago. Amen. Our question to consider today is, how do we weave together individual, community, and universal values? How do we weave together individual, community, and universal values? Ponder that. Put your answers in the chat. Let's start a discussion. Thank you for watching. See you soon.